Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Jarvis Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Jarvis. And hold on one second. I don't know why my camera's doing pretty good. Okay, sorry about that. We'll reverse a little bit. Hi, I'm Stephen Jarvis, host of the Jarvis Podcast. And today I'm going to talk to you about the 1986 Vigilante action movie called Eye of the Tiger. It stars Gary Busey as a man by the name of Buck Matthews, who's just pretty much trying to, you know, in the beginning, he is being paroled and he just wants to go back home to his hometown, be with his wife, his daughter, and their daughter, rebuild his life. But that doesn't happen easily because there's a corrupt sheriff that's after him and thinks that he's a cold-blooded killer and murderer and just doesn't like Buck. And there's also a motorcycle gang with their leader by the name of Blade, who also don't like Buck because he stops a rape. Um, and so in the beginning of the movie, you meet a character played by Gary Busey named Buck Matthews, and you also meet another character by the name of Jamie. And Jamie, once he's out of there, he sees Buck walking back to his hometown, and he asks Buck, "Hey, would you like a ride?" And Buck's like, "Sure." Well, then Jamie's like, "Hey, what can I do for you? How can I repay you? Yada, yada, yada." And so Buck says, "Well, just forget about it." And Jamie said, "I can't because without you in that prison riot, I would have been killed or beaten pretty badly." And Buck just says, "You know what? Whatever it is, it's okay. You can forget about it. I would have done it for anyone." And you later meet his friend JB, who is the deputy of his hometown, of Buck's hometown. And you see them walk down and they're talking about how how his town isn't like it used to be, that the sheriff is a corrupt piece of crap. And they walk into a convenience store where Buck buys presents for not only his daughter but for his wife. We later meet his wife and his daughter, and we also see that Jamie has given Buck a letter saying, "Hey, anytime you need anything anywhere, call this number and I'll help you out." And so Buck just tries to go on about his daily life, um, including going back to his old job, where on the very first night of his first time being back at his old place of work, he hears screams. So he gets into his pickup truck, drives down there to find these screams, where he finds a nurse is almost being raped by the motorcycle gang. And so Buck, using his truck, kind of, chases them away and kind of says, "Hey, over my dead body, you're going to get to this nurse." And the motorcycle gang leaves, but their leader by the name of Blade is kind of like, he takes offense to this pretty much. And so we later see Buck in with the local corrupt sheriff, who is also now his parole officer. Lucky Buck, right? And he later punches Buck and says, "I'm not gonna put up with your shit," in pretty much less terms. And JB comes in, gets Buck, and you find out that the sheriff is a major racist too. And so when they walk out, JB says, "Hey, they're gonna come after you. They're not gonna take what you did sitting down lightly. They're gonna literally come after you." Well, at this point, a TV and news TV shows up at Buck Matthews' house, talks with him, interviews him. Well, this doesn't work out in the favor of the Matthews because the motorcycle gang now knows where he lives. And later that night, they do come and pay him a visit. They destroy his house, they kill his wife, they traumatize his daughter, and they beat Buck up to the point where he can't protect his family. So later on, we see Buck in the hospital. He's praying, and the local priest says, "Hey, what are you praying about?" And he's like, "I'm not praying for my wife, I'm praying for vengeance." And we later see Buck walk in and, check on his daughter. And you can tell it really is affecting Buck because he thinks to himself, "Hey, I did this. Me protecting this nurse," who the nurse later comes in and is helping out Buck's daughter. He's thinking to himself, "I helped her out and it killed my wife. It pretty much, me doing that killed my wife." And so once he gets out of the hospital, the news crew comes back and videotapes him coming out of the hospital. And we see him and JB in the town later watching his wife at his funeral. And also the biker gang decides to show up and ruin the funeral. They're pretty much revving their bikes and just making a big scene. Well, Buck notices the gang leader, Blade, and he goes to, want to go and fight him. But JB stops him and tells him, "Hey, maybe you need to move out. Maybe you need to leave. Let them have this crappy town. Leave, take your daughter, get out of here." And Buck says, "No, I'm not going to do that." So then JB says, "Well, you're going to be doing this alone because the sheriff isn't going to help you. No one in this town is going to help you because they let it happen." And later on, we see the cop getting a bribe from Blade so that, the sheriff can't do nothing. He's pretty much a corrupt guy anyway, and he's not going to do anything. I mean, after we see what they do at the funeral, he's laughing about it. You see a big smile on his face about what happened to Buck. And so we later are brought to the desert where the gang or the motorcycle gang has their hideout or their base, and they're dealing drugs. Well, Buck, knowing that he's going to need some help, decides to call Jamie. Well, he asks for a souped up Dodge Ram. I think it's a Dodge Ram pickup truck, probably an 80s model. And he has it outfitted with machine guns and motors, and it's pretty damn bulletproof too. Well, Buck is at home, and what does the motorcycle gang do? They drag his wife's casket back to their house, leaves it there, and Buck has to literally go and put her back into the earth. So then Buck literally sees this as a declaration of war in his eyes. He's already pissed off at this bike gang for what they did to his daughter and for killing his wife, which you never see his wife get killed on camera. You just see her laying dead and the little girl, their daughter, seeing the whole event and all that, being traumatized. So Buck decides one night that he's going to string up a thing of wire around, I do believe it's telephone poles, or if it's around light fixtures. But anyway, he decapitates two of the bikers, and one of them just happens to be the brother Blade, the motorcycle gang leader. And so
we later see him go and Buck go and visit his daughter. You know, he shows her that he bought her another I think it's a porcelain angel that spins. Well, the sheriff isn't liking what Buck's doing, but him and JB, or Buck and JB, decide that they're going to take out this motorcycle gang now. Buck ends up rigging his old pickup truck that you first see in the movie to explode, which kills some of the biker gang members when they attack it. And then you later see him and JB sleeping, waiting for them to attack near the gas station, because they attack inside and around the town. And Buck just knows that's what's going to happen. Well, they see the motorcycle gang attack a couple, but Buck and JB beat him up pretty good. And around this time, they capture one of the bikers, but his larynx got crushed, so he can't talk. And we later find out why the sheriff does not like Buck, and that's because Buck is a Vietnam veteran. He came back from the war. The whole town loved him, but not the sheriff. So JB kind of tells Buck why the sheriff set him up for a murder that Buck did. And JB says, you came back a hero from Vietnam, but it pissed off and made the sheriff jealous because he didn't like that you were getting attention. So what the sheriff did is set you up because you're the only one that if you ever ran for sheriff, you would have beaten him. And you're the only one that could really challenge him. So he dealt with you the way he felt he had to. And later on, the bike gang later kidnaps Buck's daughter. So Buck sneaks in with the disguise into the biker's room that can't talk and takes a stick of dynamite, puts Vaseline and shoves it up the biker's butt and lights it. Well, the biker thinks it's real, so the biker tells them where they're at, and what happens is the biker later has a heart attack because he finds out it's a dud. There was no gunpowder in it. It was just a scare tactic by Buck to find out where the motorcycle gang is. And so him and JB devise a plan to where they're going to get Buck's daughter back and defeat the gang. So it's literally Buck driving into their where they're at, and he's using the souped up pickup truck to shoot the machine guns and also the motors at the biker gang. He kills a lot of them, and he gets out of the truck where he finds his daughter, gets her out of there, drives back while the local sheriff is trying to have his deputies arrest Buck, but the deputies and Buck have had enough of the corruptness of that sheriff. So Buck knees him in the nuts, or kicks him in the nuts, I'm not quite sure, but he throws him in the pickup truck, and the sheriff is begging for his life at this point. And the sheriff later dies when Buck's pickup truck is destroyed and blows up, but Buck makes it out of there just in time. And Buck and the leader Blade have a fist fight, which Buck loses early on. He gets his butt kicked, but then he comes back pointing a shotgun, and the leader of the motorcycle gang says, "You better shoot me in the head or in the heart, anywhere else, and I'll kill you slowly." So then Buck shoots the shotgun up in the air, throws the shotgun down, and they have a fist fight again, where this time Buck pretty much takes out the leader, and makes him accidentally ingest cocaine, which kills the gang leader. Once the gang realizes that, hey, they're taking back their town, they decide to leave, and Buck, JB, the deputies from before, they all celebrate this victory and that they saved the town. And that pretty much ends the movie. It's kind of a movie that I would consider probably a grindhouse film. Being made in 1986, it uses a lot of what we've already saw in like Walking Tall, and a lot of the other vigilante movies we had gotten before. You even hear "Eye of the Tiger," the song from Rocky, which Rocky 3, I do believe, was in 1982. So it's 4 years before this film. And they use "Eye of the Tiger" pretty much throughout the whole film. I mean, even to the point where at the end they play it when he and JB decide to go find the gang. Near the end of the movie, they play it. In the beginning, they play it. So it's pretty much you hear "Eye of the Tiger" throughout the whole movie. But I really do love this movie, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a movie where a guy that was convicted of something he didn't do wants to go back to his hometown, just wants to live his life. But he can't because he decides to help save the nurse. Motorcycle gang doesn't like that. They kill his wife. They beat him up. They traumatize his daughter. He has to get revenge. And that's pretty much what this movie is. It's kind of like a Walking Tall ripoff in a way, except for Buck doesn't become sheriff like Buford does in the Walking Tall series. But they still dispense justice the way they know how to. And of course you have the corrupt sheriff and the town that allowed this, and there is a scene in the movie where Buck interrupts a bingo game at like a town hall or something and pretty much says, "Whoever's with me, I need your help." And when no one, even his friends, don't want to help him and fight these bikers, he walks off by himself, knowing that he has to do this alone. And it's a great performance by Gary Busey. I mean, great performance. The guy who plays JB, Devereaux, is he was in Live and Let Die as the main bad guy in that movie. You also have Denise Galik, Seymour Cassell. William Smith is the bad guy. And Judith Barsi is the daughter in this film. And she had a pretty short career because later on her alcoholic father decided to kill not only her, but her mother. And then I think he killed himself too. But not to make this thing depressing or anything. So yeah, that's pretty much what this movie is in a nutshell. I mean, it's pretty much like you take every vigilante movie, Death Wish, Walking Tall, Vigilante itself, and you roll it into this. And you put Gary Busey in it. You put the most two hated bad guys in there as the kind of the foil to the hero. And you give him a good supporting cast that help him and want to later help him in his mission to get revenge. So I honestly will tell you this. If you haven't seen this movie, it is on Tubi for free. And yeah, you'll have to deal with ads every now and then watching it on Tubi. But this is a great movie. Go give it a check out. And I'll even show you the trailer. So, screen share, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me for this.
Oh God, it's gonna do that stupid thing it does now. Hold on 1 second. I need control panel. Because I'm using a new microphone, well, it doesn't like that I'm using a new one. And it's like, well, hey, you're using this. Why aren't you using the original one you had? Yada, yada, yada. Okay. That should make it work now. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. There we go.
Gary Busey is Buck Matthews. After 4 years in Nam and 3 years in prison, he's come home to find his family and his worst enemy waiting for him.
What, for God's sakes, draw a few people. Don't you know what's going on out there? You know, it don't matter how we wish things were. It matters how we deal with how they are.
You made a big mistake, Matthews.
You know, nobody ever stood up to them before. They are going to take it personal.
Sometimes when I was in prison, I get a feeling, just before something bad would happen. Yeah.
These people killed my wife, and nobody's doing a thing about it.
Do me a favor, huh? Get out of this town. Let these maggots have it.
I'm not running.
They're just playing with you, you know. Soon enough, they're gonna kill you.
I knew you'd be around here somewhere.
You got a plan?
I'm praying for vengeance.
Face to face, fist to fist, and only one will survive. You and me! Gary Busey, Yaphet Kotto, Eye of the Tiger.
And yeah, that is the action-packed trailer for the movie. But yeah, go check it out. Definitely 100% check it out. You'll love the movie. It is that good. You can listen to this episode anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And also, if you're looking for gaming or just to hear me even more, go over to my Twitch channel, twitch.com/TTVJarvis. That's GERVAIS. And you'll see, I wouldn't say great gaming, but still pretty funny. So thank you so very much, and I will talk to you all next time.